Okay, so my presentation is on hookup culture and how it's ruining generations. My first source was a study done to show the decline of fertility and birth rates due to delayed marriage and childbearing. The study was conducted by a policy analyst at the Heritage Foundation to show the decline of fertility rates, and the study talks about the correlation between low birth rates and fertility rates to delayed marriage. Delayed marriage means older partners. Older partners tend to have more problems with infertility and getting pregnant. The sources were reliable due to the funding and the sourcing. 3 key takeaways were that women in the U.S. are getting married later than women in the past. The delay of marriage is decreasing the window of opportunity for women who want to have children after finding their partner. And then the total fertility rate is unlikely to recover and rebound from the devastating decline unless marriage rates go up for women during childbearing years. My second source was a blog post analysis about the effects of hookup culture from a medical standpoint. Dr. Jennifer Berman explores the complexity behind hookup culture and its many interlinked factors. The analysis also reveals that despite the promoted benefit, you are risking your mental and physical health when participating in hookup culture. Due to credentials and experience, the source is well educated and reliable. The analysis goes as far to compare the gender gap and how that affects us differently in an emotional capacity. The study gives both the pros and the cons of hookup culture and doesn't focus on the negative impact heavily. My third source are statistics based on fertility rate and age ranges, which goes back to my first source. The statistics were from the CDC on fertility rates and birth rates in the U.S., and it shows both the increases and decreases in certain age groups of women. The study states that from 2007, which is the most recent high, to 2023, the number of births has decreased by 16%. We know it's a reliable source because it is a government-funded source. Right here you have a chart of the live births and general fertility rate from 2023 and 2024. The blue is 2023 and the green is 2024. So you can see a slight difference, but it has stayed relatively the same, not showing any increase but a decrease. My fourth source is a book by a Tulane officer that delves into the hookup culture of college students. It's called American Hookup, The New Culture of Sex on Campus by Lisa Wade. The author is a sociology professor at Tulane University, so we know that the information is reliable. And it also includes research and interviews on college students to display how hookup culture is placed in our society. The book not only addresses the problem, but also gives a solution and advice. My fifth source is a podcast on the effects of hookup culture and what college students think of it. A podcast from Shankar Vedantam, which includes insights on how college students view hookup culture. Lisa Wade is featured on the podcast and talks about her book, American Hookup, that we just talked about. The podcast is from NPR, which is the least biased news outlet source, and it is reliable. The podcast goes into the unspoken rules of hooking up and how complicated it can get in college. My sixth source is a blog post delving into the sexual revolution and how it has hurt society and hookup culture. This post talks about the lack of emotional intimacy and the increase of emotionless sex. The quote, "Women are learning to have sex like men," refers to how feminists believe to be empowering, or what feminists believe to be empowering is just subjugating themselves to men's desires. The source may not be reliable, because the author, Ed Shaw, is a minister. The argument may be fueled by facts, however, it's also fueled by religion, so therefore it's unreliable. And a summary of the presentation would be all the sources given are fact-based except one, and they all agree that hookup culture is ruining our society, and they all lead to the same conclusion. The effects of it are majority negative, and the bad weighs out the good. All but one source was reliable and wouldn't be used for a strong argument. For Unit 3, I hope to continue to learn how to research and validate sources like these. Finding good and reliable sources in a world where AI is everywhere is painful. So I just hope for Unit 3 that we can continue building our sources and being able to research good. Thank you.